on compound interest. So compound interest is interest calculated on a principal plus the interest earned in prior compounding periods. So unlike simple interest where you can only earn interest on the amount you borrow or the amount that you're putting into something, compound interest is kind of like a snowball where it takes your interest and whatever interest you've earned, adds it to your principal, and then calculates interest on that total amount, not just the amount you put in. So that becomes super important because you can earn money a lot faster that way or owe money a lot faster that way. So compounding periods are the time between calculations of interest. So some really important ones to look at are annually means it's once per year, semi-annually is twice, quarterly is 4, monthly is 12, and daily is 365. So for the formula for compound interest, we have A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N to the power of N times T. So A is the final value of your interest, of your investment. So it's already added your interest and your principal together. P is still your principal, so the original amount you borrowed or owe or invested. R is your interest rate. It needs to be expressed as a decimal again. N is the number of compounding periods in a year. And T is the term of the investment or loan in years once again. So figure out what your principal, term, rate, compounding periods are, substitute into the formula, and solve for A is how we're going to do this. So let's take a look at our first example. So calculate the interest you would earn on $1,000 deposited in an account that pays 4% interest per annum if you left it for 2 years with the following compounding periods. So I now have this information here. I have a P value of $1,000. I have a R value of 4%. I don't like it that way, so this is my P value. So P, I said, was $1,000. R was 4%, so that's like 0.04. N is 1 because it says your interest is compounded annually. And T is a term, so that's how much it is. So N is 1, and T was going to be equal to my term, which was 2 years. So now I have this lovely formula, A equals P times 1 plus R over N times T. Now I'm going to just take all these lovely numbers, I'm going to sub them into here, and I'm going to get 1,000 times 1 plus R over N, which was 0.04, over 1, and N, which was 1 times 2. So when I go through and I do this, I'm going to take and I'm going to go 0.04 divided by 1 plus 1, and I'm going to be left with $1,000 times 1.04 to the power of 2, because 1 times 2 is 2. So this is just coming up here. Now when I do this, I'm going to go 1.04 to the power of 2, and I'm going to get 1.0816. I'm going to multiply that by 1,000, and I'm going to get 1081.60. Now it wants to know how much interest I would have earned. So I'm going to have to take this amount and subtract my original investment from it, which was $1,000. So if I took this amount and I'm going to subtract $1,000 from it, I'm going to be left with $81.60 of interest. That is what I earned in interest annually. Now, if I wanted to do this quarterly, all that's going to change is my N is now going to be equal to 4. So N is now equal to 4. So everything stays the same except for N changes. So I now have 1,000 times 1 plus 0.04 over 4 to the power of 4 times 2. So that's going to give me 1,000 times 1.01. So I went 0.04 divided by 4 plus 1 to the power of 8. And when I do that, I'm going to calculate it as 1.01 y to the x button 8 equals times it by 1,000, and I'm going to be given 1082.86. Now that's how much it's worth at the end of a quarterly term. So I'm going to take that number 1082.86. I'm going to subtract 1,000 from it. I'm going to be left with 8286 as my final number. I'm going to separate these two things here so we know that this belongs to question number 1, not anything else. So here we go. This is all question number 1, and this is question number 2. Now for our last one, our n has changed to monthly, so n is going to equal 12 in this case. So I still have everything else is the same, so I have $1,000 times 1 plus 0.04 over 12. 12 times 2. So I have $1,000 times 1.0033 to the power of 24. Now I'm going to take 1.0033 to the power of 24, and I'm going to type that in my calculator. I'm going to hit equals, and then I'm going to times it by 1,000. When I times it by 1,000, I get $1,083.14. That's how much A is worth. I'm going to take that 1,083.14 and I'm going to subtract 1,000 from it, and I'm going to get $83.14 is how much interest I earned in 12 months at that exact same rate. So the more compounding periods you have, the more money you're going to earn because it's compounding interest more regularly.